And hey, everybody, and welcome back to the very first episode of the May lineup. I'm Gabriel Garcia. Many of you know me as the Wandering Scribe and the Wandering Quill. And in today's very special episode, we're going to be doing something a little bit different. This episode is the first of our author spotlights. These are going to be mini teaser interviews. And in today's episode, we're doing something very special. Now, the author that I'll be talking about, his name is Dustin Blackwall. He is a Canadian author who blends suspense, romance, and atmospheric storytelling to create emotionally immersive reads. Inspired by small town settings and the tension between connection and the unknown, his work draws readers into stories that feel both intimate and unsettling. When he is not writing, he enjoys creative pursuits, deeper thinking, and exploring the outdoors. And joining us today to speak on behalf of Dustin is a Wandering Scribe alumni making her second appearance back on the show. So without further ado, everybody, let's give a huge round of applause to Wandering Scribe alumni, Georgiana. Georgiana, welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much. I am so excited to be back, and I'm so excited to represent Dustin in this special episode.
Awesome, Georgiana. Awesome. Now, before we dive into this little teaser interview into Dustin's work, can you share with our viewers and listeners how you got in touch with Dustin? Like, what drove you to him? Like, what about his work really sparked that curiosity to work with him and collaborate with him?
So it's actually a funny story. So one of my friends that was in his group beforehand, it's called the Karma Crew. It was the Karma Crew like art team. They were managing that with him, and they brought me in just randomly, and I'm like, oh, okay, like that's cool. I love these little surprises. So I came in, I instantly just connected with the whole entire group, and I connected with Dustin in the group. And then I ended up buying Dustin's book, All the Shadows We Become. And when I bought it, I got it, I think like a week later, and I started reading it immediately, and I was just immediately hooked because it's like such a like dark, spooky, like Stranger Thing kind of book that really intrigues you. And me and him got to really connect a lot over it, but as well as a few things happening within the team that led for him and I to really talk and be able to work together. And it's been so great, honestly, so far.
Awesome. And for those who have not seen the post you guys been working on, what is the book that Dustin has been promoting the most of? Because I did a little research, and it's almost like his take on, a Scooby-Doo kind of feel. Is that correct?
Yeah, so it's like a mix of like Scooby-Doo, Stranger Things. It's like a very psychological, like biomedical, like thriller. Every single time you think that something's gonna happen, it just completely twists around and you have no idea what's happening. And like the way that he writes is so exquisite because like the in-depth details that he goes in is immaculate. Because I remember last time you asked me a question of like what's something like what's one of the senses that's really hard for an author to write, and I believe I said taste, or was it feel? It was like taste or feel, but there's a couple of those in that like scenes in his book that's like that, and he was able to like perfectly write it out, which was incredible because I'm just like, wow, like this is the first time I'm actually like tasting what he's writing. This is the first time I'm actually feeling like what he's writing, and it's really, really beautiful. This is the book. All the shadows
Ooh, very nice.
It's very, very pretty. I love it. It's like a very cool, like Halloween spooky aesthetic, which I love too. It's the perfect, like a perfect fall read too, as well.
Nice, very nice. So, as a little window into this story, what can you tell us about it in like a few sentences? What can readers expect from Dustin's book?
So for the book, it's like a small, very like it's called Hollow Creek. That's the town name of the like the setting of the book, and it's a very small and quiet town, but everything's like almost like Hallmark picture perfect, like Halloween month season. Like everywhere you look is like this beautiful Halloween theme like setting, but then like even though you're seeing it all, something feels very strange underneath, like something's like lurking like in the shadows. And it starts off with the male main character Caleb, who ends up getting into a car accident in the beginning, and he does survive. That's not a spoiler. He does survive, and he ends up getting transferred into this rehabilitation center. And at the rehabilitation center, um, it's very spooky because certain things happen in the rehabilitation center, and like the machines are like humming. There's like it's almost like you're feeling like you're being watched the entire time, and then just strange like phenomenons happens while he's staying there. And that's where he meets Ava, who is an intern nurse that just got transferred there. And everyone else is pretty much like normal. They're just like, even though it's creepy, they just kind of go with the flow of it. They don't really ask questions or anything. And Ava is kind of like set aside from that, where she's like, no, like this is weird. Like this
Mm.
shouldn't be happening. So she and Caleb kind of connect together over that. And then there is Dr. Vale, who's like really creepy. He creeps me out so much. But it's almost like he has all of these secrets he's hiding, but he's so set in stone and he's so intimidating that people like don't ask questions, and they don't like try to like go against him in any way, because he's just like very intimidating, like has this kind of like power that you just don't want to mess with. Um, but yeah, and then there's this other little bit to it where there's a certain kind of water that's in throughout the entirety of the book. I'm not going to go too much into that because I don't want to spoil anything for anyone, but I just have to say is when you read the book, just remember the water. There's something with the water that you have to keep in mind.
Ooh, all
Yeah.
right. I like it. Nice. Now let's talk a little bit more about Dustin a little bit.
Mhm.
Now, when working with him and learning about his process and how he writes stories, what can you tell us about him as an author? Like, what really inspires him to write his aha moment, so to speak?
So I know that he's always been a reader. And he wanted to know what it would be like to like be a writer. And after working a job 9 to 5, like a regular daytime 9 to 5 job for so many years, he decided that, you know what, let's make this writing thing a reality. Like, what do I have to lose out of this? Why can't I be a writer as well as other people being a writer? And I think one of his biggest things that he always tells us is the only way that things are actually going to happen the way you want them to is for you to do it themselves. And especially with dreams, like if you want a dream to happen, you have to go and pursue that dream yourself.
Absolutely. Well said. Well said, Georgiana. And when I was actually looking more into Dustin's book, I was really pulled into the storytelling and what really he wants to achieve. So ultimately, in your own words, what would you say is like the goal or mission for Dustin for this book in particular?
I think the goal and the mission for this book particularly is to see the kind of style of writing that he writes, because I feel like when you talk to like Dustin is such a sweet person, and he's just always there for everyone else and always like so positive. So when you go and read his book, it kind of has like this dark undertelling that's really cool. Like it shows a side of him that you don't really think of. Um, and like the way, like I said, the way he writes and the way he's able to capture the scenes and capture the details of the scenes, it's not like it's a very rare thing you come across. Like I've read a lot of books in my life, but the way that it is a long book, but it needs to be that long because of the way he goes into each scene prospectively. He wants to make it as appealing to as a variety of the audience, not just certain like genres, but to all genres
Okay.
as much as possible.
Fascinating. All right. All right. And when you started working with him and being part of his team and doing, promotions, marketing, working with the others, and getting all the stuff ready for teasers and reviews. Let's actually talk a little bit about that. Generally speaking, What have the reviews been like for Dustin for this book in particular? I mean, there's like a lot, like the scores have been really, really good.
Yeah, no, the reviews have been actually really good, especially for this book in particular. I mean, of course, like every author is going to get some bad reviews or some people that just don't really um intertwine with the book. Sorry, I was trying to figure out that word. And that's perfectly okay, but there is a lot of people that like it really like made them, it's one of those page turners. It really made them not like stop reading the book until they were towards the end. And I think that's what's so captivating about it is because like it's one of those books that you're sitting on the edge of your seat and you're like, okay, I want to know what happens. I want to know what happens next. And I think that's why he's been getting such great reviews on it. But not even just as a writer and author, it's just the person he is and the personality he has. And I think that's a huge thing with it as well, because you can be an author, but the person you are behind being an author, it's very, very big to me, especially to me. And I know a lot of other readers, because you want to be able to connect with the author and the person the author is.
Again, well said, Georgiana. Absolutely well said. Now, there was one question that I was really keen to ask you and hear your thoughts on, and going through my list again, is ultimately, do you think the promise has been made or validated? I hate always asking that word validation because that's probably one of the biggest, at least in my opinion, like the itch for authors that, as authors, we shouldn't seek validation solely for our works as the main pursuit. You know what I mean? We should just write our work for the people that we know are going to enjoy it. But with that said, from working with Dustin, and I believe possibly you may be continuing working with him for his other works,
Yeah.
do you believe that the goal he set out and the promise that he's made, not just to himself, but to his readers, has been honored?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because the biggest thing that he wanted to do was make readers want to reach out to him with questions. And that's exactly what he did. Like, there's so many readers that message him and they have a bunch of different questions about the book itself. And that's good because that means it's working, that they're really reading, they're really engaging with the book and they want to know more about it. And they're really engaging with his work, which is really great for future projects that he has coming in the future.
Ooh, very, very nice. Very, very nice. Now, I also have one other question, and you kind of already teased at this in the beginning. So, from what you told me for this book in particular, it's like it makes it like Scooby-Doo, Stranger Things, a lot of suspense and supernatural. But I'm very curious, is this book primarily made for an adult audience, or could anybody at any age pick this up? Is it only like family friendly? Is trying to say.
Anyone at any age. It's very family friendly. So it can be spooky and it can be kind of like creepy, but it's not over to the top where it's going to be traumatizing for like kids or teenagers or anything. The romance is also, it's there, but it's not so extremely spicy that children or like teenagers or anything, they're not able to read that. So it is very, very family friendly, like focused.
Nice. That's not very easy to do as an author when, we write books. Like for me in particular, I write adult fiction and
Right.
I try to write, well, I am attempting to write in like, you would consider it to be a YA for a secret story that I'm working on, but it's not easy. I found it's not easy in terms of like how I write characters, the language, the dialogue. I've had to refine my verbiage, so to speak. So I'm very, very impressed that Dustin's been able to write a story that anybody can read and can be appealed to any reader from any genre. It has a bit of everything. There's a little bit of romance, there maybe some spice, but not too much.
Right.
That's not easy to do, especially in a competitive market where a lot of people would argue go heavy into the romance, go heavy into the spice.
Exactly.
And Dustin saying like, no, I'm going to write a story that I like, that I want to write. I'm going to touch on a few things, but I'm not going to side in one genre. I don't want to be pigeonholed because that's what it seems to me from what you're telling me about Dustin, that he doesn't want to be confined to just one style of writing or be known as one genre of an author.
Exactly. And he's smart for doing that. He's so smart for doing that because the bigger of a variety of an audience you can get for a book, the higher likely and higher chance you are going to be able to get more viewers in and more people interested in your work as an author, as well as your books that will lead you to succeed even more than where you are now. So it's definitely a very, very smart business move and an author move too.
Yes, absolutely. Now, Georgiana, there is a fan question that I actually got from one of my viewers who wanted to know, and it's probably a similar fan question, but I'm going to try to say it in a way that doesn't spoil too much, and maybe may have some answers to it, or maybe not, for probably protecting the story, which I understand. But is there a chapter or two that you would say has been the best one to read? Or do you have a favorite character that readers will pick up on as their favorite character?
Well, that's a really good question. I don't have like a particular I don't have particular chapters that's my favorite just because like when you're reading this book, you get so lost into the book that you're not really focused on what chapter you're at, which is
Mhm.
why I love it. Um, but the characters, like I love the main characters, especially like Ava. Ava, like you don't underestimate Ava. I feel like she's like this intern nurse that like seems like quiet and like wants to do well and wants to like make everyone happy around her. But at the same time, if you like cross like a certain line or if she doesn't feel like something's right, she's going to go and make sure she's going to find out why it isn't right. You know, like she's very empowering and I really love that, especially as a woman. And Caleb, what I love about Caleb too is he is a very strong like male figure, but he also has that like sensitive side that it's not like too sensitive, but like it's that sensitivity that women kind of like long for sometimes. And
Mm.
I just I love that and like their connect like their relationship and how it kind of builds up on what they face throughout the book together. It's breathtaking.
Nice. Now, of course, as you know, also as a reader yourself from your incredible library, do you believe that there is a book that is similar to Dustin's, maybe not in terms of writing style, but in terms of themes that would be almost like a comparison? And the reason why I ask is that, as with social media, there's a lot of things that people put on for books like, oh, if you enjoy this, you'll enjoy that. Or
Right.
these books have all of these things. Or if you love Game of Thrones or Lord of the Rings, these are the books. Is there something similar to Dustin's work, or would you say that Dustin falls in that category in terms of themes and thematic elements?
Oh, that's so I definitely do find like similarities with other authors for him, but like his book is so like it has similar vibes, but the storytelling of itself is completely original. And that's why I love it. It's like a fresh breath of air is because it's not something you go into and read and you're like, oh, like I could have sworn I read this in another book. You know what I mean? It's almost like you're comparing
Right.
it to another book. His book doesn't do that. You completely know it's completely original from his heart. But I think like the similar kind of vibe systematic, I would say like psychological like thrillers, like James Patterson. I love James Patterson. He's one of my favorite authors, but he kind of has that
Mhm.
similar vibes with it. There's a reader that reviewed his book recently that said Stephen King, and Stephen
Ooh, that's
King
high
is a
praise.
phenomenon. I can't even say that word. But he's an icon, you know. So I think even though like you don't like to be compared to another person, obviously as an author, I think that's just such a huge compliment because Stephen
Yeah.
King is an icon and he has written some insane like amazing stories. And I really like I do have the similar vibes to that from All the Shadows We Become. But like I said, it has its own originality to where you can pinpoint that no, this isn't someone else. This is Dustin.
Nice. Awesome. And just like all authors, we always have, authors that we've admired and have in some way influence our writing in one shape or another. Are there any authors that Dustin has said have impacted his writing style or just impacted him as an author?
I know that there is a few. There's Carl Sagan. See, I'm not good with names, so I'm sorry if I butcher these. But there's Carl Sagan, I
Oh,
believe.
yes, I've heard of Carl
Uh,
Sagan.
Author C. Clarke. There is Dan Brown, R.A. Salvatore, and a couple
Ooh.
others. Yeah, so
Oh, those names have
he
been
has
name
a
dropped.
solid list. Yeah.
Yeah, those have been name dropped quite a few times by many authors here on the channel.
Yeah.
And kind of going back to the beginning, so as we've talked about and kind of teased a little about Dustin, he is an author again that doesn't want to be confined to a cage and wants to write for himself in of a sense. So would you say that that's kind of like his approach to writing? Like he doesn't write for an audience in mind. Like he'll write for fans of the genre, but they're not the main reason why he's writing it for them. He's just writing it for him.
Yeah, so I definitely would have to agree that he writes it more for what resonates with himself, which I think is incredible because you're going to be able to see kind of more of inside of his mind, inside of his soul, while he puts all of this on paper and types it out. But I know at that moment in time he writes for himself, and then when he publishes it and puts it out, anyone that is able to kind of have that similar mindset and is able to resonate with the story, it's a huge plus. But I do know that the next book that he is working on, because he is working on another book, I know he's more deliberately writing it for the audience.
Ooh, so we still have a little bit of time left, so let's talk a little about that without spoiling too much. What is the next book that readers can expect from Dustin?
Oh, so next book. Give me 1 second. I have a of the prologue for this book. Um, it's definitely gonna be a spooky book again.
Ooh, okay.
But it's this time it's not like a main male character, it's a female main character.
Hmm.
Um so sorry, give me 1 second.
No
It is a
worries.
very long prologue, so I want to see if there maybe I can just give a tiny bit of a teaser for it. So I'll read the first like 2 paragraphs. So this is the prologue. It's the house was not asleep. It did not breathe or shift or creak in the way living things did, but it held itself in a posture that felt alert, as if it were listening for something it expected to hear again. Laura stood in the kitchen with the light above the sink turned on, every other room dark. The glow pooled around her hands in the porcelain basin, dense and yellow, a shallow island of visibility in a house that had quietly withdrawn from her. The cabinets beyond the light stayed indistinct, their outlines softened by the shadow. The doorway to the hall was a black rectangle that refused depth. The living room beyond it existed only as a memory. She could picture it clearly, but she did not want to see it again yet. And
Ooh,
that was just the
that's
first couple
good.
paragraphs. You know what I mean? So it
That's
definitely hooks you
really,
in.
really good. Okay. That actually got me pumped. And I typically don't read in that genre, but honestly, that got me hooked. I'm
Yeah.
definitely adding it to my list. I'm definitely adding it to my
Woo!
list.
Awesome. I'm so glad to hear that. But yeah, and just even that book alone, never mind the other books, it's so empowering and I love it. That's why I'm so excited to work with him and I'm so excited to represent him because I know he has something, he has something special and I can't wait to watch him rise and thrive with it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, there was another question I did want to ask, and that is, of course, the inspiration. What would you say for Dustin is the biggest inspiration when it comes to his writing?
To his writing, um Let's see. So I know that he likes things that really like explode almost. You know what I mean? Like they really explode to the point where like once it's out there, it will forever be in your mind. Like it's something that
Mm.
literally sticks with you even like months later, you know? And he loves like epicness, like world changing, gritty, soul searching, anything that will make people think about his book long after finishing it. And I think he's been able to capture that quite a bit, especially with All the Shadows We Become, because even with the ending, it's not really the ending in your mind because it really makes you think and dive even deeper, and then it kind of like it sets like, especially when you're reading at night, like sets like this creepy kind of like,
Ooh.
especially when I'm reading it and then all of a sudden I see a shadow on my wall and I'm like, whoa, like hold up, like is this coming to life? But yeah, it's definitely more of something that you'll think on years later and be like, yeah, I remember that book. That book stuck with me, and this is a book that I want to recommend to other people that get into it.
Awesome. Amazing. Now, before we wrap up this incredible spotlight of Dustin here on the channel, I have a few last things. Ultimately, what do you think his word of wisdom would be to the aspiring authors out here in the world? What would he say to them?
The biggest thing he would say to them is to do it for themselves. Don't do it so you make a quick buck, so you go and get rich off the stories. Do like write these stories, become an author because you have that passion and drive for it. When you love something you do so much, it's not even work at the end of the day. It's more of just creating and being able to put that much love and passion into a project is what other people are going to go in and see right away, never mind like getting into the books, you know? So I feel like when people, especially authors, um go and like try to write all these books just make a quick buck and try to like get rich and stuff, it kind of like drives and lose like the focuses of the readers because their whole entire passion is not really into it. Like readers want to see that excitement, that passion. And I remember him saying like, don't give up either, because especially as an indie author, it takes so much time, it
Yes.
takes so much energy to put into it, and there's going to be so many moments that you do want to give up, but you can't. You have to keep putting everything in, all like you're all into it, and you just have to stick with it. The more consistent you are with it, the more you stick with it, you're going to make it.
Well said, Georgiana. Well said. And on that note, viewers and listeners, we conclude our first ever spotlight episode here on Tales
Yay.
from the Wandering Scribe. I want to give a huge thank you to Georgiana and to Dustin for coming on the show and telling us all about this incredible work. Now, Georgiana, where can people find Dustin on social media if they want to reach out and follow him? And where can people buy a copy of his book as well as stay up to date with his other works?
So he is on Instagram and he is on TikTok, at Dustin Blackwall. And then on Amazon, they can find his book. So he has All the Shadows We Become. And then he also has another book, Light Years to Midnight, that's out as well. This was his first book, I believe, that came out before this book.
Ooh.
I got into that, but it's a really good book as well. And then for his future projects, he's definitely always on Amazon, and that's the best place to find his books. And then Instagram, he's pretty much on there daily. So if you want to reach out to him, have any questions, want to join the teams, like definitely reach out to him, and we'll be so excited to have them.
Excellent. I will link all that down below in the description of this video. Thank you, everybody, for joining us for the first ever episode here on Tales from the Wandering Scribe. A huge thank you to Georgiana for coming on the show representing Dustin and his work. I wish them both the very best. And hopefully we can have them back on the show promoting the other work that Dustin has worked on. So if you'd like to see them back on the show again for another spotlight episode, you know you have to do, viewers and listeners. You have to like this video, comment down below, and most importantly, subscribe to the channel. Or if you'd like to see them back in a full-fledged author interview, exactly the same thing. Again, a huge thank you to Georgiana and to Dustin for coming on the show. Wishing them both the very best. And as always, this has been the Wandering Scribe and the Wandering Quill signing out. Wish you all a wonderful Saturday wherever you are in the world. Good evening, everybody, and we will see you all next time. Take care. Have a wonderful day.